My husband gave me a protective amulet, but I turned around and gave it to a death row prisoner. Because in my past life, my husband traded an amulet for the souls of me and his childhood sweetheart. I wore the amulet he gave me every day, yet my body grew weaker and weaker until I became a lonely spirit. Floating in midair, I discovered his childhood sweetheart had taken over my body. My husband, Song Hwayan, and his sweetheart now lived as the envy of all, a loving couple. They spent my family's silver, deceived my parents, and swallowed up my family's fortune. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back at the moment my husband gave me the amulet. This time, I would make them pay for their crimes with blood. The spring chill was biting. I sat in the courtyard awaiting my husband's return. My dowry maid, Xiao Dao, brought a cloak and teased, "What a lucky husband you have, miss. He's worth your devotion, sitting here every day, waiting for him to come back." I smiled faintly, my heart softening at the thought of him. A servant entered to report, hesitating with a peculiar look. My curiosity was piqued, but words were unnecessary. I saw my husband entering, shielding a delicate young woman behind him. Song Hwayan held Louis close. Her timid, fragile demeanor was truly pitiable. "My lady, Yi is the daughter of my late mentor and my childhood sweetheart. Now that Master Lu has passed, she's left alone and vulnerable, frail and often ill. Might she stay at our residence for a while? I simply cannot bear the thought of such a delicate young woman being alone." Song Hwayan trailed off, looking somewhat embarrassed as he studied my expression. Having never had a sister myself, I agreed to her temporary stay. After a few more casual words, I felt ready to retire for the night. Suddenly, Louis pointed at the orchid jade hairpin in my hair. "Sister, that hairpin is so beautiful. It looks just like the one my father bought for me. May I see it?" I couldn't fathom what she was up to. After a moment's thought, I took the hairpin off and handed it to her. "It really does look like the one my father bought me. It's a shame I lost that one, or I could have shown it to you. We really are meant to be." Song Hwayan smiled gently. "Since Yi likes it so much, I'll have the lady give it to you." After saying this, Song Hwayan looked at me. I was slightly taken aback. Had he forgotten? This hairpin was carved by his own hand during our first month of marriage. He'd angered me then, and to make amends, he'd personally carved it, even cutting his hand in the process. He'd gone to great effort to give it to me. And now, he was suggesting I give it away? Lu Yi looked at me with a hint of shyness. Was she hoping I'd offer it to her? I paused, then refused. "This particular hairpin won't do. If you like this style, I'll have someone bring similar ones for you to choose from." Lu Yi glanced at Song Hwayan. "Brother Song, of course the one sister likes can't be given away." I only mentioned it because seeing the hairpin reminded me of father. Saying this, she tried to hand the hairpin back to me. I motioned for Xiao Tao to step forward and take it. The next moment, a sharp crack echoed. The hairpin fell to the floor, shattering into 2 pieces. Lu Yi looked panicked as she bent to pick up the pieces. "Sister, I didn't mean to. I truly didn't mean to." Xiao Dao also seemed flustered, glancing up at me. I felt a wave of irritation. Lu Yi began to sob softly, repeating her apologies over and over. I hadn't done anything. Song Hwayan couldn't sit still. Frowning, he said, "It's just a hairpin. Shinchinghe, why are you making such a scene? Yi didn't mean it. We can just buy another one." I looked at Song Hwayan, my heart filled with disappointment. After speaking, he stood up and pulled Lu Yi toward the exit. "Yi, I'll take you home. Don't mind her. It's just a hairpin." Lu Yi's hesitant, whimpering expression as she whispered something to him tugged at his heartstrings. But just before they left, Lu Yi turned back and shot me a triumphant glance. I stared at the broken hairpin on the ground, then at the two of them walking away hand in hand. It felt as though my heart had shattered just like that pin. A sudden wave of confusion washed over me. My fingers and my sleeves felt icy cold, and the scene before my eyes seemed painfully bright. My marriage to Song Hwayan hadn't even lasted a year, yet we were deeply in love, harmonious as Qin and Se. My husband was gentle and courteous, diligent in his studies. He had now passed the provincial examination to become a scholar, and my parents marveled at how well I had chosen my partner. My father was the wealthiest merchant in Gusa City. As his only daughter, I inherited a vast fortune, with servants and mansions too numerous to count. Lacking a son, he sought a son-in-law to marry into the family. He set his sights on Song Huayan, whose family consisted only of a widow and her son, living in poverty with just an elderly mother. He was also a scholar, gentle and reasonable, with a handsome appearance. Since my family had no shortage of silver, I planned to sponsor his studies for the imperial examinations, taking him as a son-in-law. Should he pass in the future, it would secure a promising future for him. Thus, after our marriage, we moved into a small courtyard newly furnished by my parents, adjacent to the Shin family's ancestral home. I had intended to bring his elderly mother to live with us, but he declined, saying he didn't want to intrude on our newlywed bliss. So she never came. Now, however, we've welcomed a childhood sweetheart, Miss Liu. Here, this is the amulet I obtained for you at the Taoist temple. Remember that day when I broke your hairpin? Consider this a small recompense. When I see another beautiful hairpin next time, I'll buy you a new one, okay? Hearing Song Huayan's words, identical to those from my past life, I realized I had been reborn. This was the moment when Song Huayan gave me the amulet. In my previous life, I naturally treasured the gift he gave me immensely, wearing this amulet day and night. Yet, less than half a year later, I fell gravely ill, my body steadily weakening. Doctors could find no cause. One day, I slipped into a deep sleep and became a solitary spirit. My body had been possessed by another. I shouldn't have died, and no ghostly messenger came for me. Unable to stray far from my body, I watched as it mysteriously sat up, walked to the dressing table, and slowly began combing its hair and adjusting its makeup. She murmured to herself, "Sister, you're such a fool. You don't even realize you've been betrayed." Who was she? Why was this happening to me? Song Huyan entered and embraced her. Wonderful, Yi. The Shin family is finally ours. She was Liu Yi, Song Huyan's childhood sweetheart. Hadn't she been sent away from the estate? Wasn't she frail and near death? What was going on? What had they done? What sorcery had they used to possess my body? I could only watch helplessly as they feigned affection, squandered my family's wealth, and deceived my parents. Then, with another blink, I found myself back in this moment. "Very well, I'll do as you say," I replied with a slow, measured smile. This time, I wouldn't let the two of you off easily. That day, I arranged for Xiao Tao to bring the bird's nest prepared by the kitchen to her. My intention was to follow Song Huyan's wishes and keep an eye on her. "Madam, the bird's nest for Miss Liu is ready. This servant will deliver it to Miss Liu. I'll go with you. Let's visit Miss Liu." I saw her in the pavilion of the courtyard. I approached her. She happily grasped my hand, thanking me repeatedly. Suddenly, she stumbled and fell beside the table. Ah! The bird's nest soup spilled across the floor. Shards cut her hand. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at me. "Sister." The scene made it seem as though I'd committed some terrible crime. Song Huayan rushed in from nearby and helped her up. It seemed some people had spotted Song Huayan nearby. "What are you doing? Why did you push Yi? You hurt her. She's already so frail." Song Huayan looked at me with disappointment, then turned his gaze to Liu Yi with pity. Liu Yi drew in a soft breath, tugging gently at Song Huayan's sleeve. Her eyes flickered, her voice soft yet seemingly laden with 1,000 unspoken words. "Brother Song, it's not sister's fault. I tripped and fell by accident. Look, she even brought me bird's nest. Don't be afraid, Yi. Your health is fragile. I'll take you back to your room first and have the doctor come check on you." He glanced at me, then lowered his voice to soothe Liu Yi. I stood by, watching Song Huayan carry Liu Yi away, soothing her all the while. "Don't blame sister. I'm a guest in this house. She was just careless. Please don't say more." Song Huayan's voice carried a hint of anger. "She's always been spoiled and willful. If you keep indulging her, she might even strike you next time." She sniffled softly. "It must be because I'm not good enough. Sister will accept me someday." leaving me alone in the cold wind. Xiaodao fumed indignantly. Miss, how could the master embrace a woman of unknown origin like that? I stood rooted to the spot for a long moment before speaking. Xiaodao, you must not speak ill of your husband. If he acted thus, he must have his reasons. Between husband and wife, trust is paramount. In my past life, that was what I believed, and that was how I lived. I trusted him, waiting for him to explain. Not like the resentful wives in those storybooks, consumed by jealousy and resentment, nitpicking over every little thing. Besides, my husband said Miss Lu was his mentor's daughter, so naturally she deserved kindness. I returned to my room and waited for my husband all night. As dawn approached, Song Huayan finally came back. Seeing I hadn't gone to sleep, he paused, slightly startled. Here, why haven't you gone to sleep? Have you been wearing the amulet I gave you every day? He was still as gentle as ever, his cool fingers lightly caressing my cheek, his voice familiar with its tenderness and concern. Sitting at my dressing table, I smiled faintly. I was waiting for you to return, my lord. I couldn't sleep. Of course I've been wearing the amulet you gave me. A bitter laugh rose unbidden in my heart. Song Huayan lowered his head and pressed a light kiss to my forehead. Seeming to realize he owed me an explanation for the day's events, he spoke. Here, Yi is the daughter of my mentor. She's been frail since childhood. With Master Lu passing recently, I feared for her health and brought her into the manor to recuperate. I nodded. Since she is the daughter of your benefactor, it is only natural. She should be treated well. Song Huayan's expression softened, seemingly moved by my waiting for him all night. His emotions stirred, and he leaned toward me. I froze, catching a scent different from my own, a blend of feminine rouge and medicinal fragrance. My heart skipped a beat. I turned my head to avoid him. His lips landed near the corner of my mouth. Husband, I'm tired. I truly didn't wish to be intimate with him again. Here? He seemed puzzled. The night was deep. Out of pity for me, he gently stroked my hair and sighed, then rest well, here. Just as I prepared to rest, a servant announced outside the door, Miss Lu says her chest pains have returned. She wishes to see a physician. Upon hearing this, Song Huiyan hurriedly rose to leave. But at that moment, a pang of sorrow gripped my heart, and I reached out to tug at his sleeve. His gaze turned toward me. My heart skipped a beat as I deliberately pleaded, Husband, must you go? Let the estate physician examine her. Song Huayan sighed helplessly, Don't be silly, here. Yi's health is fragile. I can't rest easy. I remained non-committal, yet a hint of irritation surfaced. Miss Lu is still unmarried. As my husband, you spend all your time around her. Regardless of how outsiders might perceive it, the servants in the mansion will inevitably gossip. Song Huayan cut me off. Here, I thought you understood me. Yi is alone now. I am her only support. Once she recovers, I'll send her away from the estate. Is that acceptable? He reached out to ruffle my hair, his tone still gentle yet noticeably distracted. His body was present, but his heart was elsewhere. I watched as he slowly pried my fingers apart and walked out. In the past, whatever I desired, he would always give it to me. He was always tender and attentive, yielding to my every wish. Now, that care has been given to another. I don't understand why he treats me this way. Has this person suddenly changed, or is this his true nature? That amulet for peace, I had someone replace it with an identical one long ago. The one he gave me? I pulled some strings, found a condemned prisoner, settled his family, and gave that amulet to him. Now, let's see what these two can do about it. Having not seen my parents in so long, I returned to the Shin residence. The moment I saw them, tears welled up in my eyes. Father, mother. Mother came over and embraced me. What's wrong, my dear daughter? Did Song Huayan bully you? Father, beside her, also grew anxious. If you've been mistreated, Father will find someone to beat him up. Seeing my parents like this, I couldn't help but smile. How wonderful, there's still time for all of this. In my previous life, after I suddenly fell ill, Song Huayan invited a Taoist priest to our home. Using the excuse of conflicting feng shui, he reduced my meetings with my parents. Yet before me, he maintained the facade of a devoted husband. After my body was taken over, Lu Yi rarely visited my parents. Whenever she did, it was almost always when Song Huayan brought her to ask my parents for money. My parents could only grieve in silence, believing their precious daughter had grown distant after marriage. On Lantern Festival Day, the market bustled with extraordinary liveliness. I've always loved a lively atmosphere. Since my rebirth, I'd been constantly anxious, so this was the perfect chance to step out and relax. The night wasn't dark at all, everywhere ablaze with dazzling fireworks. Many wealthy families in the city had spent lavishly on larger fireworks displays, which were especially spectacular when set off. The booming explosions of fireworks ascending into the sky made me feel a bit dazed, my feet trembling slightly. The beautiful fireworks illuminating the world above made me feel the reality of my rebirth. That night, Song Huayan was occupied with his lady Lu and had no time for me. So I was laughing and chatting with Xiao Tao, strolling through the night market with my parents. We had barely left the main street when someone shouted, "Fire! Fire!" My heart sank. The source of the blaze was the very residence I shared with Song Huayan. By the time we reached our courtyard, chaos reigned. Servants and maids were rushing about, buckets of water in hand, trying to douse the flames. And the source of the fire? My bedroom. How could a fire start in my courtyard? And why, of all places, my bedroom? Ma Posey, the night watchwoman in my courtyard, explained that Miss Lu had given her young grandson a handful of fireworks to play with. He'd accidentally set the fire and begged the master of the house for forgiveness. Young miss, it was truly an accident. What are we to do? Ma Posey sounded uneasy. I knew Ma Posey well. She had always been loyal to our household. Her grandson had come to play in the mansion only after reporting to me and receiving my approval. It's nothing. You may go now. Don't let your grandson be frightened. Ah, thank you, miss. Ma Posey withdrew with her grandson. Tonight's events were most peculiar, they never occurred in my previous life. What is this Miss Lu up to? Just then, Song Huayan and Miss Lu approached. The moment Miss Lu saw me, she ran over with tear-filled eyes, clutching my hand. "Sister, I'm so relieved you're unharmed. When did we become so close?" Suppressing my anger, I gripped her elbow. "What were you thinking? Why did you give fireworks to that old woman's grandson?" Her delicate brow furrowed slightly in discomfort. "Sister, please be gentle. I didn't know this would happen." Song Huiyan interceded from the side. "Here, Yi didn't mean any harm. She just thought the little boy was cute and wanted to play with him." The fire was ultimately attributed to accidentally purchasing substandard fireworks. The outcome was lenient, thanks to Miss Lu's persistent apologies and Song Huayan's earnest pleas. My old room was uninhabitable now, and I couldn't bear to see those two for the time being. So I returned with my parents to the Shin residence, settling back into my former boudoir. But what exactly was Miss Lu scheming? Miss Lu was truly peculiar. It turned out Lu Yi had also reincarnated. One night, she came alone to my courtyard, appearing so fragile she might topple at the slightest breeze. "Sister, I blame myself. I was deceived too, believing your family forced Song Huayan." It turned out Song Huayan had once been betrothed to Miss Lu. It was arranged by Master Lu and Song's mother while he was still alive. They grew up together since childhood, their marriage pledged, though no banquet had been held nor the union officially registered. Song Huayan promised her that once he passed the imperial examinations, he would return to register their marriage, hold a grand wedding, and earn her an imperial decree of nobility. No one could have imagined he would instead marry the wealthy heiress, me. Ultimately, it was Song Huayan, that heartless man, who committed this wrong. Back then, he studied diligently at the academy. My father held him in high regard, and seeing his hard work, I too began to look at him differently. In his enthusiasm, my father asked if he had a wife. He answered he did not. Seeing my family's wealth and Miss Lu's family's poverty, I realized I could offer him no support. Unable to satisfy both sides, he weighed his options and ultimately had to let Miss Lu down. Song Huayan told Miss Lu, Miss Shin has done me a favor. Now she seeks repayment for that kindness. I was forced into this marriage with no other choice. You are the one I love most. It is the Shin family who blackmailed me with their debt of gratitude. I will find a way to grow old with you. My family is wealthy, but my parents raised me like a son. I've always managed our business dealings personally. Even if he became my family's son-in-law, the silver I could give him would be limited. So he told Louis, the Shin family looks down on me just because they have a little money. You're the only one I have. Louis slowly recounted their past entanglements to me. Sighing, I pulled her back into my courtyard. She threw herself into my arms, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm truly sorry, sister. I know you genuinely cared for me. That was a misunderstanding. In my previous life at this point, I'd merely instructed the servants to watch over her more closely, fearing her frail health might lead to trouble in my household. Sister, in my past life, I died young because of me. I didn't know about this soul-swapping technique. It turned out the amulet was merely a diversion. The true mechanism was the array within my room. By chance, Song Huyen had befriended a Taoist priest who knew a soul-swapping array. If the heart's blood of the intended soul-swapper was dripped into the array's focal point, and the target resided within the formation long enough, within half a year, the original soul would be gradually consumed, fading away. The fire in my courtyard this time was her doing. She set it to destroy the formation in my room. I will never again do anything to harm my sister. It was an utterly unconscionable formation, one that shortened the caster's lifespan. Had Song Huyen not saved that Taoist's life, he would never have repaid that debt by performing such a harmful act. Lu Yi knew of this. Yet, swayed by Song Huyen's persuasion, she sought to be with her beloved Song brother, thus taking possession of my body. And because she deeply loved Song Huyen, she trusted his words unconditionally. That's why she opposed me at every turn. It's also my fault. I harmed your entire family, and I harmed you. Her original body was already frail, plagued by chronic illness, and her personality was weak. She believed Song Huyen when he claimed he was doing it for her own good. Only later did she gradually realize that Song Huyen had merely exploited her because she was easy to manipulate, using her to swindle my parents out of their wealth. It was then she understood she had been used. After spending a short time with my parents, she discovered that our family had never forced Song Huyen to do anything. Moreover, my parents were kind-hearted people, not the sort to demand repayment for favors. The marriage was entirely Song Huyen's own choice. Regarding Song Huyen's deception to seize my parents' estate, she could only navigate the situation as best she could. Yet her abilities were limited, and she feared my parents would discover she had already taken my body. Guilt nearly overwhelmed her. In my previous life, my lonely spirit perished too soon, never witnessing the years that followed. After Song Huyen passed the imperial examinations as the third-place scholar, he caught the eye of the minister's daughter. Using the same deceitful tactics, he tricked her as well, abandoned Lu Yi, and swindled away a vast portion of our family's wealth. Unable to bear the betrayal and tormented by her conscience, Lu Yi felt profoundly that she had destroyed my entire family. Having studied ethics with her father since childhood, she tormented herself day after day until she could bear it no longer. Seizing an opportunity, she stabbed Song Huyen to death with a knife and then took her own life. As if fearing I wouldn't believe her, sister, I swear by the hell of endless torment if I speak falsehoods. Hearing Lu Yi's explanation, I awoke as if from a deep slumber. This Song Huyen was nothing but a wolf in sheep's clothing. Sister, in this life, I still must kill Song Huyen. He deceived me so cruelly. Song Huyen could never have imagined that his delicate childhood sweetheart now obsessed over killing him. Lu Yi became fixated on murdering Song Huyen. Miss Lu, killing him outright isn't the most direct revenge. True vengeance requires no knife to kill, no lawsuit to seize wealth. In our past life, didn't you see what Song Huyen did? This time, we must take what matters most to him. Song Huyen valued a scholar's reputation above all else. He never left evidence behind when committing wrongdoing. But now that the Taoist soul-swapping array was destroyed, he'd surely find another way to control the Shin family. To him, the Shin family was merely his money bag. What's gotten into you? Song Huyen asked reproachfully. Now that the array is broken, we must find another way. I'm doing this for our future. That old Taoist could only create this one array. Lu Yi gently wiped her eyes with a handkerchief and cried, "Brother Song, I never imagined it would come to this. I knew Song Huayan was ruthless, but I never imagined he'd poison my family slowly to control the Shin clan. He obtained a colorless, odorless poison from the old Taoist." Lu Yi pretended to make pastries as an apology, feeding it to our family of 3. This poison is colorless and odorless, undetectable to ordinary people and even most doctors. Long-term consumption would lead to gradual weakness in the limbs, loss of sensation, and ultimately difficulty moving. Learning this news sent a chill through my limbs. My Shin family treated him well, giving him silver, supporting his imperial examinations. Even as a son-in-law, I treated him with daily kindness and never raised my voice. It just goes to show people are greedy and never satisfied. Sister, rest assured. I've been slowly lacing the poison into Song Huayan's tea. A little each day, he'll never notice. Lu Yi helped me sit down. I looked at her and sighed. True. He abandoned even you, his childhood sweetheart. How much more so me, a merchant's daughter he looks down upon. Lu Yi crouched down, gazing at me. Sister, don't grieve over such scum. It was touching that she still tried to comfort me. It's fine. Though I invested some affection, I've always been able to let go. Sooner or later, I'll settle the score with him properly. When I encountered that demonic Taoist outside the city walls, he was terrifyingly aged, his face a wrinkled mess. Karma has come full circle, old man. This is my retribution. His wicked deeds had eroded his spiritual power, aging him far beyond his years. I acted out of gratitude, no regrets. What twisted logic! His favor cost my entire family their lives. This old Taoist, straying from the righteous path, had some magical power but peddled elixirs and swindled the villagers' money. I helped report him to the authorities. They beat him, bound him, and dragged him to the magistrate's office. That demonic Taoist will likely spend the rest of his days rotting in prison. Drinking the poisoned tea didn't seem to affect Song Huayan. Instead, he pressured Lu Yi daily to get closer to my parents and me, poisoning our food. Our future depends on you. This is for our sake. You are the one I love most. Men's words are lies. Shinqinghe reeks of filthy lucre, how could she ever match my brilliance? What he truly cherished was wealth, power, and himself. Brother Song, I know you plan for our future. Rest assured, I administer the poison daily. Lu Yi suppressed her disgust and played along with him. She had seen through him in her previous life. This time around, she longed to grind his bones to dust. Yet she feared he might devise another scheme to harm her sister's family, so she continued to coax him into drinking the poison tea daily. The most urgent matter now was to divorce Song Huayan. I couldn't bear to stay with this hypocritical, penniless scholar for another moment. If we continued living together, I feared I might slip poison into his mouth and send him straight to meet the king of hell. Thus, I conspired with Lu Yi to stage a scene of catching him in the act. Help! Brother Song, don't do this. When I arrived with a group of servants and kicked open the door, there sat Lu Yi, clutching her knees, her clothes disheveled, sobbing uncontrollably on the bed. Brother Song, I only ever saw you as a brother. How could you do this to me? Song Huayan lay sprawled on the floor, pushed down by her. Here, Yi seduced me. Don't listen to her nonsense. Spotting me enter, he hurried over, pleading with me. The scene stabbed at my heart, and I cried out in anguish. Yi is a helpless woman, how could she possibly resist your strength? How could you do such a thing? We must divorce. No, here, listen to me. It's not what you think. Enough. I'll discuss the divorce with my parents. This hypocrite, always the same. No matter what, he manages to absolve himself completely. He commits the most despicable acts under heaven yet still puts on an act of helplessness. He won't even admit that Lu Yi was his former fiancée. Scholars are the most faithless of all. Lu Yi, you wretched woman. You framed me. I treated you kindly, thinking you were my master's daughter, and it was all for nothing. Is this how you repay me? I watched Song Huayan's evasive defense with cold eyes. Song Huayan, Before our marriage, you promised my parents that you would only take a concubine after 40 if childless. Moreover, you told me this Miss Lu was merely a sisterly friend to you. Is this what brotherly affection looks like now? Miss Lu is a pure, respectable young lady from a good family. Why would she risk her own reputation to falsely accuse you? I pressed him step by step. Don't you dare think you can bully the Shin family just because we have no one. My parents are still alive. My parents rushed over upon hearing the news. The moment father entered, he punched Song Huyen. So this is how you treat my daughter, Song Huyen? Divorce her. My Shin family's daughter doesn't need a faithless man like you. Even if she remains unmarried for life, the Shin family can support her. Divorce is non-negotiable. Otherwise, I'll go to the academy and expose your assault on an innocent woman. Ultimately, under my father's relentless pressure and fearing the scandal, Song Huyen signed the divorce papers and was expelled from the Shin residence. Lu Yi initially wanted to leave too, but seeing her pitiful state and fearing she might do something reckless, like seeking revenge on Song Huyen, I kept her at the Shin residence to recuperate. Her health was already fragile, and her heart was heavy with sorrow. Don't worry. The Shin family can certainly afford to support you, I reassured her. Though merchants prioritize profit, she was a vulnerable young woman. Once she left the Shin residence, she likely had few options. I plan to open a girls' academy to teach young girls who can't afford schooling. Would you come teach there? Really? Could I truly do it? Her eyes sparkled as she looked at me. She was well versed in the classics, the 4 books and 5 classics no challenge to her. Teaching children to read wouldn't be difficult. Yes. Why should women be overlooked in this world? They are no less than men. Take us too, for instance. In business acumen, how do I compare to Song Huyen? In the teachings of Confucius and Mencius, how do you compare to him? Even if we fall short, how much worse could it be? Yet it's all because we're women. For an ordinary woman, possessing even one skill to earn a living is rare. I plan to teach them arithmetic, while you teach them reading and writing. Then we'll find embroiderers to instruct them in needlework. I shared my detailed plans for the elementary school with her. Sister, that's wonderful. I'm truly sorry I can only repay you with my knowledge. Thus, Lu Yi remained at the Shin family's girls' school to teach. Song Huyen did possess genuine talent. Yet among the countless scholars in the land, only a handful could advance through the imperial examinations and ultimately attain official rank. In this lifetime, without my family's silver to pave his way, his path to officialdom had reached its end. It was my family's money that allowed him to travel to the capital for studies later on, and it was also due to a certain incident that he came to study under an exceptional teacher. A servant at the door entered to report, the former son-in-law has arrived. I froze, surprised that Song Huyen dared to show his face, and that his mother had come too. How thick-skinned could this man be? From Lu Yi, I learned that the Lu Ming Academy was recently recruiting students, and this was precisely when Song Huyen needed money for bribes and favors. Song's mother pleaded. Huyen was just momentarily confused. He's a man of deep loyalty and honor, he just hasn't come to terms with it yet. Though Yi grew up with him, his recent misdeeds stem from momentary confusion, his heart still belongs to you. My father turned to me. Here, what do you say? I replied calmly, the divorce is settled. We have no further ties. My father nodded, while Mrs. Song grew frantic. Shinchinghe, how can a young lady be so unreasonable? My son, Huyen, is a rare gem you wouldn't find even with a lantern search across 10 villages. He's destined for great things, a high official. Your family is merchants with no sons. Huyen will become a government official. Even taking a secondary wife wouldn't be unusual. What more could you possibly want? Song Huyen was probably already fantasizing about having his cake and eating it too. My parents looked stunned. After a moment, my father slammed his hand on the table. Here is my only daughter. She's been cherished and pampered since childhood. There's no reason for you to treat her this way. My father was genuinely furious. He waved his hand dismissively. The divorce agreement was signed and sealed by both children. You old woman are just making trouble. Mrs. Song was furious. It's all because your Shin family pushed for it. A merchant's daughter? Pa. The old woman resorted to shameless tactics. Since your family initiated the divorce, you must compensate us with silver. We won't ask for much, 800 taels. I laughed in exasperation. Both mother and son were rotten to the core. Song Huyen was no better, just a pretentious dog in human form. My mother slammed down her teacup, her face darkening. First, think about how you'll repay all the silver you've already spent from our family. Otherwise, we'll take this to court. Scholar Song's future imperial examinations will be tarnished by this scandal. It could ruin his political career. Mrs. Song instantly fell silent, her face flushing crimson as if choked. Song Huyen was her Achilles heel. She still pinned her hopes on his future success. Their extravagant spending, the lavish food and fine clothes our family provided them, had indeed cost us a fortune. Now, demanding repayment? Not a single coin would be returned. Alas, in their eyes, our family was merely a merchant house, nothing more than a stepping stone for them. Song Huyen knew full well his family was penniless. Without silver, he couldn't even set foot in the looming academy. Here, I was momentarily blinded and made a grave mistake. When I pass the imperial examinations, you shall be a noble lady. Father-in-law, my mother spoke out of turn. And I have no connection. Though betrothed, we lack official betrothal papers. Here and I are the true husband and wife. He was clever indeed, letting others do all the dirty work for him. I wish to have no further entanglement with him. The divorce papers between us have already been submitted to the authorities. In the end, mother and son were reluctantly driven away. Song Huyen, in this lifetime, neither the looming academy, nor studying under renowned masters, nor the minister's daughter, none of it concerns you anymore. Without the Shin family's backing, Song Huyen couldn't enter looming academy. But he was arrogant, convinced his talent was exceptional. He thought, it's just looming academy. Even if I skip it and go straight to the imperial exams, I'll pass with flying colors. So he simply studied at home, awaiting the examinations. He longed for the day he would rise to the top, bringing glory to his family name. Yet the poison Lu Yi had fed him was already silently damaging his body. During this time, he also became entangled with Jin Yang of the Spring Fragrance Pavilion. With her red sleeves adding fragrance, he lived in blissful pleasure. Jin Yang was no pushover. She lingered by Song Huyen's side daily, vying for his favor. Their nights were almost never-ending. After all, she'd heard that though Song Huyen was divorced, he had no children. As a scholar, if he passed the imperial exams, he'd be unstoppable. Though Song's mother tried to set boundaries for her, Song Huyen never listened to her. Song Huyen, cradling his beauty, dreamed of passing the imperial examinations, of rising to glory and boundless splendor. Alas, when the day of the actual examination arrived, he found himself unable to rise from his bed. A physician was summoned, his expression subtle. Henceforth, it would be best to cease your bedroom activities. Upon hearing this, Song's mother's legs gave way, and she collapsed to the floor. What a tragedy! What a tragedy! Jin Yang was so terrified she couldn't speak. That very night, she gathered what little money remained in the Song household and fled. She had thought that by climbing onto Song Huyen, she could become the wife of a high-ranking official. Who would have thought Song Huyen was so useless? Just because he had a bit more bedroom activity, how could it even prevent him from taking the imperial examinations? By the time Mrs. Song discovered it the next day, it was too late for tears. Hearing the news, Lu Yi froze. Sister, was this Jin Yang you're doing? Lu Yi and I sat in the courtyard, drying the school books in the sun. Yes. And no, I replied with a faint smile. I merely spread word about Song Huyen among the girls at Chuanxiang Pavilion. Isn't he notorious for scheming and murder? The women of this place have seen his underhanded ways countless times. They don't believe in love, they're simply harder-hearted than he is. Greed? It's the most common thing in this world. That some would take the bait is hardly surprising. Sister, you truly see things clearly. Lu Yi smiled at me. Our entanglement with Song Huyen ended there. Tomorrow, I must return to the schoolhouse to teach those little ones. Getting caught up in these romantic entanglements was truly unwise. From the small schoolhouse, the clear sound of children reading aloud drifted out. The end.